First, we have Elizabeth Lawal, exploring where this work came from and what the future looks like. Elizabeth Zeddie Lawal is a producer, theatre maker, facilitator, cultural researcher, and a firm believer in the power of young people and, of course, social change.
Since graduating from the University of Birmingham in Drama and Theatre Arts in 2016, she has been committed to inclusion, equity, innovation, and transformational leadership, and most importantly, care. She's an advocate for the mobility donut and empowering leaders and communities to thrive whilst using creativity as a mirror to society. She's the writer of Exhale, a play exploring faith, sexuality, and forgiveness. Formerly the head of community at Free Radical and associate producer of Coventry City of Culture, part of the Beat Freaks Collective, and is recognised for the Birmingham Mail 30 Under 30, the Stage 100 for More Than a Moment, Action with and for the Black creative workforce. It is my pleasure to introduce this amazing, wonderful human being, Zeddie Lawal.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Zeddie Lawal, and I just want to say thank you to whoever has tuned in today. Thank you for taking the time, for choosing to lean in and to be here on this journey with us. I would like to invite you to listen and to tell you about where this journey began and why I'm standing in front of you in this virtual space today. So after moving to the West Midlands in 2013 for university, I quickly realised that I was the only black female on my course. Considering that I was studying in Birmingham, I was shocked. I wanted to explore what the city had to offer. I met two amazing women on my journey. And against the odds, they enabled me and empowered me to think beyond the realms of my own experience and really imagine a future that enabled everyone to thrive. Before I knew it, I was wholeheartedly embraced and immersed into a creative community and civic change makers. And for 7 years, I was working at university and also between the cultural space and the youth sector. I was put in a position of privilege where I could harness my skills and grow and nurture the communities within my work. However, as a young person at the time, I was often frustrated as my friends were moving outside of the West Midlands to establish their long-term creative ambitions due to feeling both left out and locked out of cultural opportunities. And then the first lockdown happened. 3 weeks after my 25th birthday. I was already thinking about what the future could hold for other reasons, but during this period of time, when the world had paused, there were a few questions that came to mind. The main question was, when we come out of this, what will the future look like? And how can we create a world that puts love and compassion and care at the centre of everything we do, and how do we thrive? And then last year, during the height of the pandemic, the vast majority of the world witnessed an injustice, the murder of George Floyd. I remember that shook the fabric of my identity, and it really forced me to look inwards and question everything. This compelled me to look at the world in a completely new light. I remember the need to always having to do things for ourselves, because there was hardly any accurate representations of our stories. I remember me and my friends putting on festivals that celebrated Black British culture in the diaspora, doing workshops about how to learn about having to love our hair, learning about how to love our identities, and also finding safe spaces to mourn after experiencing injustice. I remember searching the library when I was at university, trying to find a play that resonated with my lived experiences. In the end, I couldn't find anything. But then I decided that I was going to write my own, in hope that somebody else would tell their own story and remind people that our experiences and our stories existed too. Beyond that, I realized that there was a need now to demand change and build a better future, not just for myself, but for my generation, the generation before me, and the generation after. I found myself in a space of sheer privilege and power. I had in my feeling a gut to do something. I remember I just wanted to do something, anything, and breed the bridge between leadership and communities. I felt compelled to take action for two reasons: to serve the needs of the communities who supported me, who enabled me to make room for new dialogue. I felt the need to speak to leadership and bring communities together. But this time, this dialogue was based on trust, authenticity, and transparency so that we can collectively rebuild based from a common purpose. The first thing I did was go on Twitter, actually, and tweet a really heartfelt thread. I then wrote a letter to the West Midlands Cultural Response Unit asking what we were going to do to take action with and for the Black creative workforce, and that was the birth of the More Than a Moment working group. Over 5 months, we created a framework that enabled us to listen, co-design with and for the Black creative workforce and co-create a pledge with leadership across the Midlands through research, consultation, innovation, value exchange, but most importantly, trust. More Than a Moment came from a desire to bring people together at every single intersection of culture to commit to making real change. Meaning leadership, communities and creatives and people with lived experiences were not only valid, they were valued and welcome so we could build together based on equity, inclusion and care. A year to this date, we launched the pledge. 89 organisations signed up and committed to make bold and radical and permanent change. It was a public commitment to take action with and for the Black creative workforce. And since then, we've held sector learning sessions, and there has been a momentum to sustain this work. But what happens when things go fundamentally wrong? When organisations do not commit to doing this work? That was something that I personally grappled with for a really long time. How do you hold organisations accountable when you feel powerless? For so many reasons, from economics to a breakdown of trust to just a real sense of sadness. This forced me to go back and ask my original question: how can we create a world that puts love, compassion and care at the centre of everything? But most importantly, what does the future look like? How do we learn to never go back, to return to an unequal world? When we have the power to choose to come together as an ecosystem, we can choose to literally build the future based on what we know and what we have learned. What is required right now? For me, I believe that it's time to innovate where there is a lack of opportunity and inequity. I believe that it's time for us to think and work and now operate as an ecosystem. COP26 is round the corner, and we are in the middle of a digital and technological revolution in the midst of the COVID recovery. What does that look like to actually collectively reimagine and design the roles that literally don't exist yet? Built alongside, with and for the Black creative workforce and beyond. I believe that it's time to build the 21st century that puts thriving at the centre of everything we do. I fundamentally believe that it's time to put the community at the centre of opportunities and rebuild a sector together. Accountability should be at the heart and centre of everything that we do, because the future is now. Without it, how do we move forward? How do we improve? How do we thrive? No one's story or journey should ever be left unspoken or unheard, and nobody should ever be left behind. Thank you.